Hi, I'm Jay Gavitt, presently living in Fairfield subdivision of Cypress, Texas, originally from New Jersey. Today is Wednesday, February 22nd, which is also George Washington's birthday. The reason we moved to Fairfield some 5 years ago was that I had one daughter living in the Fairfield subdivision. She had lived at that point, she had been here about 10 or 12 years. Three of our grandchildren were here. My youngest daughter, who lived in New Jersey, they decided to move down here with her husband. So they moved down along with their three kids to the Fairfield division. So we followed. So 5 years ago, both of our daughters and all six grandchildren live in the Fairfield subdivision, and the furthest one is 3 blocks. Before that, my wife had been retired. She had been a municipal clerk, and for a short period had been the township administrator. I had been a teacher, a coach, department head. My last public school job, I was the district supervisor in social studies. I had planned to retire, and a former student of mine, 2 students of mine, owned a special needs school, and they were looking for a certified principal. So I became a principal there and mentored one of them to become a principal. I stayed there for 8 years. Then I really retired, and we moved down here. Since I've arrived here, the first thing I did was get a hold of the school system and ask them if they needed a tutor, and got hooked up with the mentoring program, which were kids who need a little adult communication during the week. So I've done that for the last 4 years. I've had 2 or 3 students that I meet once a week. Very good kids. And we discuss things, or I take part in their class or whatever. I do that with the school system. And the rest of my time is spent with the Cypress Historical Society. And what I do is I set up educational programs here, which is a lot of fun. We use the artifacts here. We can bring them into classrooms. We can do individual classrooms, or we can do assemblies. I do 7th grade assemblies, where we bring in 3 or 4 classes at a time, and we spend a day there. We also give teacher workshops on local history. And we use artifacts, we use some of our photographs, and they get a resource disc that we give to the school. So those are some of the things. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are simply devoted to whatever the grandkids are doing, and they're all over the place. They're involved in sports, scouting, just everything. So I make sure that I go there. So I don't do anything in those other groups on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And in the evenings, they do play games, so I go to watch those, both my wife and I. As a social studies supervisor years ago, as I said, my oldest daughter had lived down here. So what I did, I would go through the summer workshops offered by either the National Endowment for the Humanities or Gilder Lehrman Institute in New York. What they did was provided workshops, week-long workshops with a university and museum throughout the country, and you just picked. So the first thing I would do is look at Texas. I'd go down and I'd say, oh, this is the University of Texas. It's H.W. Brands is the instructor. I'm going to take that summer workshop. And then I would come down, take the summer workshop. My wife would stay with my daughter, and then I would stay the next week with my daughter. So she was 2 weeks down here, and I do that there. I did the Alamo, the missions, digital history at Rice. So I had done those things. So I was pretty knowledgeable on general Texas history. Back with the organizations, there are many organizations throughout the state, throughout the country, that offer workshops for teachers, and sometimes they give you a stipend. Sometimes they pay for the transportation. The first one is the National Endowment for the Humanities offers social studies teacher workshops. And they do 2 different groups. They do a junior college level, and they do a high school / elementary school level. And you simply apply for those. Usually you have to apply before March for both of these. And you write an essay on how what they're doing will help you in the classroom. And then it's a competition thing, and they generally take about 25 to 30 people. The Gilder Lehrman is out of New York City, and both Mr. Gilder and Mr. Lehrman have always kept a fine collection of historic documents. So they finance through their organization, their foundation, teacher workshops. Schools have to be a member of the Gilder Lehrman Institute to be there, but you simply sign up. You can use their online resources for teachers. It's quite an organization. The same way of writing an essay, how will the kids benefit that? And it's a competitive thing, and they generally take about 25 or 30 teachers as well. And the nice thing about it is these teachers, the 30, come from all over the United States. Certainly the most interesting one that I attended was at Oxford University in England, where they brought 20 US teachers in and 10 teachers who spoke English from Russia. And we talked about the Cold War. That was a very interesting week. Yeah. And at the Cyprus Historical Society here, there's a great many jobs that volunteers can do. Some of the people like to work on genealogy, not only the genealogy of the people in the Cyprus, Fairbanks, Tomball, Rose Hill area, but they will work on your individual genealogy wherever. And we do have access to Ancestry.com that people can come in, and we will help them look for that. That's a big thing. The other thing is we do keep oral histories now of people who live in the area. Before this was done by volunteers, now we're training students at Cy Ranch High School, which is the high school that services Fairfield, to do the oral history. So we have a pretty good relationship between Cy Ranch High School and their Honor Society for Social Studies students and us. So this oral history has been going on, and they've been doing a wonderful job. We also collect scrapbooks, and we have scrapbooks from families here dating from 1923 to the present. So if you, for instance, you graduated as I did in the 1960s, you look at the scrapbooks and they'll tell you what was going on in this area. I came from a pretty much suburban urban area, and we're talking about a real rural area. Yeah. So we do that. And then we have speakers. They go out to groups. Fairfield might want to take advantage of that. We have groups, 2 or 3 individuals that will go out and give you a history. I do the history of the schools with kids. So I do the 9 Bar Ranch, which of course was Fairfield, owned by Gus Wortham. Originally, it was a rice farm. Right? And then Gus Wortham bought it in the 1960s. And then it turned into a very exclusive ranch for Santa Gertrudis cattle. And LBJ, President LBJ, used to fly in to Houston and go out to the rodeo at 9 Bar. Yeah. So it's got an interesting history of that. So naturally, I wanted to find out about that history. So we've done that. We've gone to Rice University, and we've looked through the Wortham papers about the ranch. So those are the kinds of things that we do here. The newest program that we have, we've gotten the okay, and we will be running a 1-week summer camp for history, archaeology for young kids, and it will be run by us, but it will be hosted by both Cypress Historical Park, it's the buildings here, and also Kleb Wood Nature Preserve and Historic Farm. So between those 2 areas, we'll be offering that. And as I said, I mentioned before, we have workshops for teachers and actual tours any day, not just on Tuesday, but any day. We can set up a tour for scout groups, schools, adult groups. We can do any of those if they just let us know ahead of time. And we also offer a badge done with the Bullock Museum. It's called My History is Texas History. And the youngsters work anywhere from 8 to 10 activities that deal with their history through Texas history, through Texas in the world. And they get the badges. And we just had a Fairfield troop of girls. Yep, just finished really a 4-hour session, 2 hours here with the tour and 2 hours at the local HEB in Fairfield. And 8 of them received that badge that's recognized by both the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts of America. We used to rely on, not the oral history, but we used to have a picnic, an annual picnic. And we would invite Key Club members in from both here and Cypress Fairbanks High School. So we ended up getting about a total of 30 kids each year. We would give them a certificate and they would work either the morning or the afternoon session. We wanted to get them a little more involved in the history. So what we did was we hooked up with the Honor Society in Cy Ranch. If the kids live in this area, they're probably going to go there. However, all of our members went to Cy Fair because it was the only high school. I got a picture up there of the graduating class. 12 kids in the same area that is the Cypress Fairfield Independent School District. 12 kids. Now I think it's 6,000 seniors. So it's, we're talking a rural area. We have a scholarship that we give up to 2 $1,000 scholarships a year for students who have worked and used our facility or helped us out. And this year we're giving 2, one to a student at Cy Fair and one to a student at Cy Ranch. So, and we open at 9 and we go until 4 o'clock. The tours are Tuesdays for the general public, and they come in. All the buildings will be opened by us, and we'll give them tours. And those, they just come up, sign up. But if it is a large group and they want to do it other than a Tuesday, they have to give us advance notice so we can let the county know, and the county will open up the buildings for them. If you took a poll of the people who live in Fairfield, they didn't live here before that. As I do the assemblies, and I usually there's about 100 7th graders, I'll ask 2 questions. The first question is, how many of you were born here in Fairfield? And I'll get maybe 10. How many of your parents, one of your parents, was born here in Cypress? Maybe 1. I'll ask them their last name, and they probably have the name of one of the roads around here. So you're talking about 99 kids, and certainly their parents don't know of the history of this area. And if they're moving from an urban area, it's a whole different ballgame, the history here. So again, people are moving to Fairfield because it not only has everything, 3 elementary schools that are outstanding. You got a middle school that's outstanding. They're going to a high school, soon to go to another high school, which is outstanding. Young kids under that age, there's a number of pre-K programs that are in the area. The athletic programs, the art, they're all there. And yet the adults have their own. So they must have a 5K run with adults, kids, dogs, bikes, everything, at least every other week. Great pools, great athletic programs. And the nice thing about Fairfield is these are not the travel, I'm the greatest kid in the world thing. It's for the kids in Fairfield. And it is a recreational program, and they really stress that. And it's so great. Then you also have, along with that, you have a number of churches around that offer youth programs. In addition to that, for people my age, you can jog. I do a lot of biking, and there are biking trails there, and I just spend my time there. I go up to the park, kick the ball around with my granddaughter, or kick the ball around with a grandson. I mean, there's just so many things to do. And that's not even including the scout groups that they have, that they get involved. How do we get into the school? With Salyard's school, we have for the last 4 years given a 7th grade assembly. And it's done at the end of the school. And we come in, we bring some artifacts for the kids. We show them some original maps where the school is located about Cyprus. We talk about the importance of watersheds. And oddly enough, wherever the watersheds are, you'll see where they meet, high ground, or where roads are. So we look at that, where the roads are, and we see the development. Now, up till about the 1840, we're only looking at 10 or 12 families in this part of Harris County. The population of this area, which was called Cypress Top, later called, the post office gave it that name, later just called Cypress, had like 100 people here, and that was it. And about 27 in this area die of yellow fever in 2 years. So that's just before the Civil War. So the history's kind of rich. We come in, we do all that, and then the artifacts are so much fun. Like they had the kids come up, and I have the whole group, they pick out a couple of kids to come up, bring them up, they analyze the artifact, we try to look at who made it, how it was made, what it might be used for, and then I show them the picture of somebody in Cyprus using the item. So I do, wolf corner is a great one, capturing wolves, killing. Cut off their ears, you get $5 down in Houston. But the guy who got the ears, he gave the kids 50 cents if they brought him in his department. So I sent all the English teachers a writing prompt, and it is the wolf corner picture. The other one is Cy Ranch. That was the Josie Ranch. Right across the street, it was the Josie Ranch, went all the way down to about, I think it's about a half mile from 529, and all the way over into Bridgeland. That was his ranch. He was a gentleman rancher, made his money in oil, bought this. He and Wes Wortham up in the Fairfield area owned the 2 big ranches. He used to trade, sell it here, therefore it's a ranch. First of all, the Cypress area, and we could certainly come in and give the 55 plus a history of the Fairfield group. But that was originally originally it was open range. It was open range all the way from 2920, all the way to here, down to Katy. And geographically, this is called the Katy Plateau, the Katy Prairie. After that, we found as the German immigrants came in, they seemed to settle in this area, smaller farms, and they're going to raise cows, not cattle. If you were to go to about a Meshki Road, come down the northern side of 290, those are all German dairy farming, and we don't have it up here. But we had the old farmers come in, and we were identifying the dairies. Of course, dairies changed hands. What they found out was the dairies got smaller because it's not passed on to the oldest son anymore. It's split up. So if you had 200 acres, it becomes 4 50-acre plots, But anyway, the dairy farming, the railroad came through in the 1850s. And then what happened, there started rice farming. And the Brazos, go out 290, that's where cotton and sugar. And as you get down towards Galveston, that area, sugar land, those are sugar plantations. And coming from the north, I found that the slave system here for sugar is much different than it is for tobacco or cotton. The other interesting thing was, and part of the revolution back in 35, 36, was that in the Constitution in Mexico broke away from Spain in 1821. 1821, the new Constitution did not allow slavery. But yet you put those people coming in. Now for the 10-year period, 15, who cares? The Anglos are moving in. Nobody really worries about them because there's nothing up here. We don't have missions like we do down in San Antonio. one emission didn't work and stuff. So they really didn't care. What will happen is there'll be a threat, and now we find out that Texas is thinking of leaving. That's when you see the Mexicans saying, no, we're taking control. But in the back of their mind, they're saying there's no slavery. And you still have to be part of a Mexican province. So Texas was really, was the province they were part of. So they didn't get local government and stuff like that. But anyway, they break away. By the way, Stephen Austin is a person who's going to try to keep everybody happy. And what he's trying to do, he opens the land, and a guy named Calder ends up buying the property. Calder ends up getting that piece of property where the Little Cypress Creek and Cypress Creek come together. He got that parcel of land. He was never here, an agent get it. The guy who was living there was Roberts, and Roberts had to get another piece of land. Roberts got land that didn't get underwater. And by the way, his grandson, Robert's grandson, is the one that will own this property, and then Jurgen will purchase it from his estate. That's another story that's really great. Almost all of the teachers that are teaching in the Cy-Fair Independent School District, 7th grade, did not grow up here with that resource. This is about a 18 to 20 page researched history of Cyprus from Native American to now. Sort of the head of the parks here. Jim Sigmund, and another woman who's more of a folklorist, and she's done the stories, but they put it all together in a very well researched thing. When we do our histories here, they are well researched. We don't do it unless it's been documented. 4th grade does not have Texas history. It's in the Texas essential knowledge and skills, the TEKS. It's in there. Language arts, writing, reading, is. So that 4th grade time slot has become known as a reading and not fictional. It is nonfiction reading. And my wife for the first time said, we're walking, taking a walk, and she said, you know, I've heard that you're a good teacher. That's the first time she heard it. I hear it from kids. And I said, I'll tell you what it is. When the kid walks out of my class, kids know a lot more than I do, and their questions have probably spurred me on to looking, and they know how to find the answers. That's the difference, I think, between good teaching and the teacher who is reading. Tell me, I forget. Show me, I remember. Involve me,